Hi everyone, I'm Emma Allen from Active Property Investing, and we're so excited to have Corinne Bohan here from Image Property. Hey Corinne.
Hey, how are you?
Good. It's end of financial year. We love chatting to you throughout the year, but we kind of feel that this time of year is really important when property investors should be organised. We'd love to hear more about what Image Property does and a little bit how they might interact with you this time of year.
Image Property is family owned and started business. My family back 10 years ago, we did start out in property management only, providing that service. And for the first 8 or 9 years, we were only property management side and now have a sales arm as well. But yeah, we're here to maximize investors' return on their property and maintain their property to the highest possible level. That's the job that we do. And the team are really, really successful at it. So yeah, I think they're doing a fantastic job. It does come around quickly. There's obviously a lot of things we can do and that we prompt our owners to do in that lead up to tax time. Particularly right now, we'll be communicating to owners at the beginning of May. If there's any works at the property that you wanted to get done prior to end of financial year, now's the time to get moving on that. Now's the time to get that maintenance completed so that you have those invoices in this year's tax cycle. One of our owners I know the other day was looking to do some large works that won't be complete by the end of financial, but he has already got an invoice deposit payment, so at least that amount will go in this year's financial year for him. So yeah, any purchasing as well, if you're looking at any appliances, if you're looking at blinds, air conditioning, anything like that, it's a good time now to think, hey, would it work out well for me if I got them into this financial year?
Okay, well that's a really good tip. And sometimes property investors don't think of it. Is there a way that they can kind of gauge or work out if their property has potential to do anything like that too?
Yeah, look, I think with regular communication from your property manager, who you should be in touch with, what we're doing at Image is we're going to send out an email prompting if you have anything that you'd like to do, or give us a call if you'd like to discuss anything that needs to be done before end of financial year. So that prompt is the first point, and then a conversation with your property manager to look through things. Because we often say with our owners as well, maintenance, there's different types of maintenance. There's maintenance that needs to be attended to straight away. And there's maintenance that sometimes you like to build up a few things and then get one person out there to do it all in one go, so that you're not paying top dollar repeatedly. So it could be a door handle's like not working as well as you'd like, or the skirting needs to be maybe touched up, just little things like that that are not affecting the tenant's use of the property at all. But if you got one handyman out to do it in one go, it's a much more financially beneficial way for you to do it. So now's the time to maybe look at doing those things. Yeah.
Excellent. And I guess sometimes, well, you would see many different types of investors, and a lot of us are really busy. But what are some of the costly mistakes that investors might accidentally fall into without knowing it?
Yeah, look, there's a few different things that investors we can make mistakes on. Me personally as an investor, and the busyness is the key. Like, you want to know that it's all being done right, but you don't have the time to sit down and look through it. One of the things we've worked at and we're developing at Image is that whenever we take your property on, we do an asset register. So it's something different to other companies. And we go through and we say, you've got this dishwasher and this is the model and the type. You've got this microwave. If it's if whatever's built into the actual appliances, your air conditioning and so forth. And through being managed by us, we have that in a register where you can start to see, is it financially silly to actually fix this? Should I be replacing it? So my hot water system is now coming up to 12 years old. Am I going to pay a plumber to go out and do a $300 repair, or am I replacing my hot water system? So I think sometimes making smart decisions because we know also that you've got the depreciation then of the new asset. If you've purchased the new asset as well, you've got no depreciation left on the hot water system that you're replacing. So having those kind of things, sometimes spending money saves money. And I think that's the costly mistake. I think sometimes as investors, we can get fixated on certain amounts, like, it cost $2,000 to replace something where it's only going to cost me $280 to repair it. If I have to repair it 3 times, I'm still going to have that $2,000 cost eventually. It's the same with it's the same with weekly rents. We talk to our investors about being proactive, we might want to achieve $540 a week, but at the end of the day, if you spend 3 extra weeks online and have 2 weeks vacancy at 540,
Yes.
you would have been better off taking 520 and getting someone quicker.
100%, yes.
It's all about your annual returns. I think you need to think of it more as what I'm getting back on a yearly basis from the property, as opposed to the weekly or just the immediacy of what the money is that's coming in or going out is.
Yes, I think that's really important, because we also talk about that, the difference of having it at $520, $20 less, and having it 12 months of the year tenanted versus 2 weeks vacancy. That's so important, because the big picture really connects all the numbers. 100%. And I think what you're talking about with the asset register is gold, because a lot of the time as landlords, we don't know how to measure. How close are we to replacing this thing versus do we just fix it because it's cheaper? So I think that's really valuable. The asset register gives us a bit of measurement as to how far we've got left of life in that hot water system, for example.
Definitely. And look, a lot of your investors that we work with, they buy beautiful new homes. And so we've got warranties in play and so forth as well. And so it's just great for our team to have that, so that when they give you a call and they say, hey, the dishwasher's actually broken, but we've already repaired this once and it's only got a year left before we need to replace. Let's just purchase a new dishwasher at this stage. Or they know if it's under warranty as well. So the guys are finding it great having the details about the property, about the assets as well. They're loving being able to, because we can say to the trade, hey, this is the make and model of the dishwasher that you're going out to. So
without looking. Yeah.
And look, in the world where trades are, Queensland, as you know, we're now charging for quotes, we're charging for this. I think anyone who's been having things done at the property, we're talking about inflation, and we've definitely seen it hit in the maintenance side of things. And our trades have obviously had costs go up on them as well. So it's fair that they are charging for those things, but it does make it a lot, it's a big cost when you've got people attending your property all the time.
I love it. So it's a sensible approach to managing maintenance.
Yeah, look, I think my biggest tip for an investor is just be a proactive investor. I think you can be proactive in your response to maintenance. Like, proactive maintenance is really important. Proactively get your air conditioning checked yearly, because it costs about it's not a huge cost. I think it's maybe just under 200 or around that figure. But as opposed to in the middle of summer and the air conditioner's broken and you've got to get an air conditioner out immediately because it is required, if you're proactively looking after it, you're not going to have those costs as much. There's other things proactively that you can be looking at as well with the property for maintenance. I think even then taking that to whoever you're assigning as your property manager, be proactive about talking to them about what you want. Like, what are you looking to get out of this property? Is this a long-term investment that you're looking to hold and you want to have this for 7 years? Is this something that you've got and you're going to knock it down in 2 years? Because then I'm not going to come to you and bother you about the little tiny details when it's about to be being knocked over and you're getting a new property built. But proactively talking to your property manager about what you're looking to get out of your property. And I think proactive about, different things in relation to income as well, rent and how much you're charging, annual rents as opposed to weekly rents. I think that's a really good idea. Yeah,
perfect. And look, I do know, me speaking personally, that you manage my properties up in Queensland, and we've just had a decent size increase in rent. How is the market going at the moment? Has it found its feet again in terms of steadying the ship?
Look, I think the increases for people have been, unbelievable the increases that have happened. And, look, very much to that there is a supply issue at the moment in Queensland, in Brisbane. We've noticed it's if you take it from this moment, though, you could say, the increases has been really unfair. But if you look just a little moment before, investors have sat on very plateaued rents for a long time in Brisbane and Queensland, and some investors have sat well below where they thought they were ever going to be sitting in certain areas. We were talking to some property managers the other day and saying, in West End 3 years ago, they were giving away plasmas if you rented the house for a year. Like, they could not rent the property. Vacancy was so high. Rents were just dropping. And everyone's like, now it's the exact opposite. And you're like, yes, it is a cycle. And so I think we've got to be really careful when we, the market's strong. The market's really strong. I see that we have sort of met almost, particularly with our houses, that the level of affordability now people just can't afford it to be any higher. So you've got a lot of suburbs now sitting at that, 550, 600. There's a lot of families who can't afford more than that in a house. So the housings have gone quite high, and I think that's pushing quite a few people into units. And so we're still seeing the units go up and up.
Units go up,
because more people are considering units who would have preferred a house previously but cannot afford a house. So I think it will, but I can't see anything changing the supply situation anytime soon. So I think it's going to stay really strong, really healthy. Obviously, all the development that has to happen in time for the Olympics, it's going to bring a whole heap of people into the area to work as well. So look, we don't see any reasons why it won't stay really strong. Obviously, legislation changes have come into Queensland. They're coming thick and fast at the moment. It's a lot to get on top of, and it's not always communicated very thoroughly. But as of the 1st of July, there will be a reform, and you will not be able to increase rent more than once in a 12-month period for an existing tenancy. So that's a change from Queensland legislation. You used to be able to increase it twice. That is also something that is retrospective. So there's an interesting decision by the Queensland government, but when you don't have opposition in the House, you can get through it, pass anything. So if you had a tenancy agreement, and the way we're understanding it is if we had negotiated a tenancy agreement for you back in April, and it was a 12-month tenancy, but we had put an increase in, say, 6 months after April, to increase it again, which a lot of owners wanted to do because they didn't want the tenant's rent to jump in one big amount, and they thought it was fairer for the tenant to have time to get up to an increase. That second increase won't be valid any longer.
Wow.
Which is pretty huge,
Yeah, so especially if landlords were staggering the increase to start to creep back up to market. So now it's just going to go in one big whack. That could actually go in the reverse effect.
Look, you don't. I don't think you can downplay how hard the job of the government is to come up with these and to react to these issues. But at the same time, I do think some of this, like I think once in 12 months, is fair. I do think that is fair. I think that in saying that, like, bringing it in with retrospect, I think is a little bit unfair too. I think what has already been negotiated and agreed upon should be valid. So there is expectations on the owner of what they would be receiving already in place. So interesting.
It is interesting times. If there's anything I do know is that your team is always willing to take a phone call from a landlord. So I think that's what I would really encourage with all investors, is to be proactive in the communications with our property managers.
100%.
You are our eyes and ears on the ground. No one's going to know more about what's happening in the activity of those regions better than you. So
and we're getting information out all the time. This is literally coming daily at the moment with us, to us. These updates we only found out about on Monday. So we're getting communication out today to all our investors. But we'll be talking really thoroughly and repeatedly to our investors, and especially if it affects any of them, to make sure that they understand what's coming as well. There's a lot of changes coming in the legislative area at the moment in Queensland,
which is scary, and that's why we have you. So
look, it is
fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. We'll put all your details in the comment section so people can get in contact.
No worries. Great to speak
to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.